So just coming back from 8-day silent retreat in which we had an opportunity to spend time in prayer, 4 hours each day. And the prayer, the desire in prayer in spiritual direction is to listen to the Lord. And one of the prayers is, "Blessed is Mary who listened to Jesus. She sat at his feet and listened to him." And so really, she is blessed not for necessarily doing anything, but for listening to the Lord. And I realize in my own life there's a need for a greater listening to the Lord rather than forging on ahead with what I think needs to be done. In the book of Isaiah, it says, "The Lord comforts his people and shows mercy to the afflicted." And the person of Zion says, "My Lord has forgotten me." And so in response to those lines, he comforts his people. They say, "No, the Lord has forgotten me." So often we think of ourselves in prayer and our own relationship to God and how we think of God. We might say, "Yes, I pray to God." Some people refer to him as the big guy upstairs, or "I'm mad at God for what he did." But how often do we think of God's relationship to us? How does God see us when we go into prayer? And the Lord answers Zion by saying, "Can a mother forget her infant? Can she be without tenderness for the child of her womb? Even if she should forget, which is almost impossible, I will never forget you." And then it goes on to say, "See, upon the palms of my hands I have carved your names." And that's fulfilled especially in Jesus, who bears the wounds of the cross for all eternity on his hands. St. Ignatius says, "When we go into prayer, I spend the space of about an Our Father before I start praying, noticing how God is looking upon me." And so that's when we come into the chapel, before we have our words to the Lord, to notice, how is God looking upon me? What is in God's heart and mind as he looks upon me? I know how I'm looking at myself, oftentimes with judgment. Here's all the ways I've failed, or the things that I've done wrong. While that may be true, it's not the whole picture. It would be like looking at a white piece of paper and seeing one dot and saying, "That's all I see. There's a black dot there," and failing to see the whole rest of the page is white. When God sees us, he sees our failings, but also, even more importantly, he sees the good that is in us, that he has created. And he wants us to rejoice in that. St. Paul says, "I do not even pass judgment on myself." We know that we're not supposed to judge others in their souls, but how often is it that we judge ourselves? We tend to look at, how am I doing? And we listen to the voice of the accuser who robs us of our joy and the graces that the Lord is giving to us. How does the Lord see us? He says, "You are carved in the palms of my hands." Jesus in the gospel says, "Do not worry." How many people here at times tend to worry about something? Almost everyone. We do fall into worry, but Jesus says, "Don't worry about anything." Can you add a moment to your lifespan by worrying? No, we can't. Think of the birds, how God feeds them. Every bird that's out there has survived for thousands of years because there's food available each day that they go out and eat. Who's providing that? God is. He created the world. How much more important are you than birds? We are much more important than birds to God. And he knows what we need, and therefore he's providing for it. Worry is an attempt to control things that are really beyond our control. That is what other people do, what other people say, what's going to happen in the world. It leads to frustration and anger and depression because we're not really in control. God is in control of all things that happen, and it is all according to his plan. Even things that seem to be disasters, such as the death of Jesus on the cross. He said, "Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer and so enter into his glory?" All is in the greater plan of God's love and salvation. So let's spend a few moments now noticing how God is looking upon us as he says, "You are my beloved daughter. You are my beloved son with whom I am well pleased." And we can respond, "Jesus, I trust in you."